See if I didn't fuck anything up this time.
The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters. We're going to bring you the news and reviews of your favorite brews. I am Dan Baker. I am joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
This is the first episode of the new year.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is.
Holy
huh?
shit! Happy New Year, everybody. We made it. I think. I don't know. We're recording this last year. I think if you're hearing this now, we made it. Congratulations. You deserve a beer. Open one up.
To all of our listeners, this is our last desperate gasps from 2020, reaching out to you in the future.
This is my final will and testament.
Yeah, as of recording, it's a few days before New Year's Eve, so we're hoping that the world still exists when this episode goes live.
God willing.
But happy 2021, everyone.
Yeah, it didn't feel
It's
like...
also a Tuesday.
As we're recording it, yes.
That's true.
Which
We don't usually record on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I have to remind myself to be good because I have to work in the morning. That's
Not me.
This is one of the benefits of doing this virtually is we can throw an episode together kind of last minute on a Tuesday night or insert weeknight. Steph, don't get any ideas, and then I can just go upstairs to bed and wake up in the morning and do my whole work thing.
Yeah. So the good news is we're like 20 feet away from the podcast when you're in your bedroom, and you're like 5 feet away from your job.
Not even.
Not even 5.
No,
3 feet away from your job.
Not even. No, my computer chair leans up against my bed, so there's like virtually no separation. It's terrifying and annoying, and I mean I have a job, so whatever. Anyway, we're not going to wax philosophical and borderline depressed about that. One of the best things, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I'm sure, about having to do things virtually is we're able to have people on from breweries that we may not have been able to get to otherwise. And that includes a relatively newcomer to the beer scene out of Allentown that goes by Brew Daddy's Brewing. We have, if I'm not mistaken, first time on the show, but not first time that we have met. We have joining us
Todd Reinhardt.
Todd, thank you for being here, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, of course. I hope we're not interrupting your Tuesday evening plans too much.
I'm usually going to bed right around now.
Oh, man, I don't feel so bad anymore.
That's those brewers' hours.
Okay.
I mean, even I can make it like an extra hour and a half on top of where we're at right now.
Yeah, but you didn't get up at 4 a.m. to mash in, did you?
That's true. No.
Yeah, usually mash in starts about 4:30, 4:45. So.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, more power to you.
It's okay. I'm usually done with work by about 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
I mean, that's not
That is
so
an
bad.
upside. Yeah.
One of the ways I always try to think of that is I don't know if you probably know him because you've gone through Free Will, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little more in a bit. But Ethan from Stickman lives in South Philly, but the OG location is out in Royersford. So he would make that trek, and every time he would say, I would always forget that he goes out there at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And so he gets to come home at like noon, so he never has to deal with any traffic. So the drive is just about as easy as like getting from South Philly to like North Philly.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that he works those hours.
Yeah.
Is to avoid all that mess.
Yeah, if it works, it works.
So what we've learned so far in today's podcast is if you want to improve your commute, either be a brewer where you'll be commuting at times when no one else is on the road, or have a job that you are able to work from home during a global pandemic. These are your two options for the best commute you could possibly get.
This is true.
Or just commute during the pandemic. At the beginning of the
Also,
pandemic.
yeah,
there was
right.
nobody
Also,
on
no
the
one
road,
else on
so-
the Also, no one else on the road.
Well, I don't know. Having driven during peak hours recently, I can tell you there are unfortunately people on the road, and they are all terrible. Except for you listening to this, you're great.
yeah, statistically, a good chunk of people listening right now are probably driving.
You're doing great. Keep up the good work, you good driver, you. Well, there's plenty of shenanigans, as I'm sure you can guess we'll get into. But remember, you can follow along if you would feel so inclined. Twitter and Instagram, we are at Beer Busters. Facebook, we are Beer Busters Podcast. Don't forget to head on over to beerbusterspodcast.com/shop. And there's always patreon.com/beerbusters, where you get access to things like Last Call and punishment videos when we're not all globally being existentially punished. Outtakes, behind-the-scenes feed when we're able to be around people again. You may or may not get invited to recordings. It's a good time.
The greatest perk of becoming a patron, and this doesn't get talked about very often, it's sort of an open secret. The greatest thing about becoming a patron is the warm and fuzzy feeling you get inside knowing that your contributions are going to produce this amazing podcast that you love so very much. Also, while you're looking for us on the internet, don't forget we have a YouTube channel, and we've recently actually put things on it. We've been doing game show videos of our Happy Fun Time games lately, putting them on our YouTube channel. We'll be doing another one today. So if you listen to this and you think I want to know what these people look like while they're playing this game, you can watch it on YouTube. There's also it's made up to look like a game show, so it's a little more fun. Or if you just don't have time to listen to the whole podcast but you want to experience the game, go to youtube.com/beerbusterspodcast. Don't forget the podcast at the end. That's very important, or you will go somewhere else.
Ooh, can you modulate my voice during the video and put like a blurry face on me?
I could. I don't know if I would.
I mean, I'd feel weird asking, may you do that? But technically, I guess that's grammatically correct.
I'll think about it.
No, I mean, you don't have to. I think it'd be funny, but whatever. You know what? I am thirsty. I am thirsty. Wayne, can you?
Well, why don't we ask
explain
Steph what
Yeah.
she's drinking at the moment, because Steph has a beer from Brew Daddies. Dan and I will be drinking something else during this episode, but let's have Steph talk about the beer she's cracked open, and then Todd can tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm drinking Vaderfest, which is the 5.7% Märzen from Brew Daddies. I, of course, wanted to start with a lager.
You have to.
It's really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it's Vaderfest, which is just German for father.
Oh.
I was thinking like Darth Vader.
Yeah, I saw it on the notes and I thought the same thing, but Vader makes way more sense.
Yeah.
I like Darth Vader too. I'm guessing that's why you wanted the voice modulation, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can pretend that I put that all together in my mind. Although, Vader is a Vader.
Fair enough.
I wonder if,
I'm proud of that one.
I never thought about it. Is that why they named him Darth Vader?
Oh, shit.
It's like a secret nod. But that's a topic for a different podcast. We're here to talk about beer.
That's true.
So just so everyone can keep track on their scoreboards at home, Dan and I are going to be drinking an assortment of Shy Bear beers this evening, which our listeners may remember was on the show not too long ago. They were kind enough to send us a little holiday care package, so we're going to be sharing some of those beers because, unfortunately, logistics and the pandemic, we weren't able to get a hold of Brew Daddy's beer. So we just opened their Logan Guard Bavarian-style pills, which I haven't tasted yet, but smells very nice.
It was very delicious.
So, Todd, tell us a little bit about the Märzen.
I just tried to make a fairly traditional style Märzen. It's the American Oktoberfest. You can't really get them in Germany anymore, obviously, but I very much prefer that to the Fest beer, and so it's just all German malts and hops, and very slow fermentation, and give it some time in the tanks to clean up, and I was very pleased with that beer.
It's really good. It's probably my favorite fall beer style. And I like that just as many breweries brew them that brew pumpkin beers. So I can always have a Märzen instead of a pumpkin beer.
I refuse to do a pumpkin beer unless somebody wants to help me clean up the mess afterwards.
Oh, yeah. I can
Fair
imagine.
point. Fair point. I like, Märzen, better than pumpkin beer since 18... something.
15, 16?
No, the wedding.
Perfectly good beer, so.
Yeah. I wonder if anybody's tried to do a pumpkin Märzen. I'm not even going to put that in the world. Sorry.
Boy.
Why are you doing that to us?
Because I'm a terrible person.
I'm sure it's been done. Every kind of beer has been done. So let's talk a little bit about Brew Daddies, and then we'll get into your history of brewing, because you've worked at a number of pretty awesome locations, which is kind of how we've crossed paths. But Brew Daddies only opened late 2019. Is that correct? November?
Correct. They opened, I believe it was November of 2019. I was not the brewer at that time. They had a different brewer at the time, but they opened full restaurant, beautiful beer garden. They have two chefs. One runs the kitchen. One runs nothing but pizzas. So we make wonderful wood-fired pizzas, and great food coming out of the kitchen as well. And we have a 5-barrel brew system churning out some beers. Usually have 11 beers on tap, and unfortunately, because it's where we're at, we have to have a hard seltzer too. So
Yeah, you have to.
Well, they're not all bad. I mean,
They're not all bad.
Yeah,
They're
some
fine.
I would trust, given your brewing history, that you are good at making pretty much any fermented beverage.
I was pleased with how it turned out. I'd just rather not be making it. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's-
All right, so that kind of begs another question, because I know we're kind of getting to the future of beer is not beer, and we may already be there with all the hard seltzers, but in the later stages of the future of beer was still beer. The New England IPA had wound up being like the king. You could argue that's still probably like the highest selling beer style across the board. Do you have any New Englands? And second question to that would be, how many do you have?
of course we have New Englands. I don't know how you would survive
Right,
in
yeah.
the modern beer world if you didn't. We have currently, there are 3 available. One of them is available year round, and that's Haze Daddy. I believe Steph has some of those. And then we have a double IPA that's going to rotate the hops basically, but with the same grain bill. And that should be available most times. That's called Granddaddy Haze. And then occasionally I just make another hazy IPA because that's what everybody wants. And I do enjoy making them, occasionally enjoy drinking them. So right now we have another one called Winter Dreams. That's I thought one of the best IPAs I've ever made, actually.
Awesome.
So yeah.
I also want to point out the can art on your cans is really freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yes. We have so we work with an artist out in New York. He actually went to Lehigh, I believe. So he has some ties to the Valley, but he lives in New York. His name's Denton Burrows, and he originally did the mural that, if you're in the restaurant, is over top of our pizza oven. And once we started recently canning our beer, we reached out to him and asked if he'd be interested in doing some labels. And he is absolutely knocking it out of the park.
Very cool. I saw that in the pictures on the website, the mural in the brewery, and it does. You can tell it's the same art style, sort of going from that into the cans. Yeah, it all looks really cool, and it's cool that it all matches.
I just opened a can of the Winter Dreams. It's quite lovely, actually.
Thank you. Why do you sound surprised?
Well,
that's a long story.
Definitely not my beer style. But I like that it has like the pillowiness, like the feel that you want from a hazy IPA. And of course it is quite opaque, but it has a really unique flavor and aroma. I was starting to find that most beers that are categorized as New England style IPAs, they tend to be very similar. But this definitely stands out there on its own. It's got a little punch to it. It's a little spicy. It's a little melony. It's nice.
A lot of people tend to use the same hops in various manners, and we have so many to choose from, and they're all unique. So I'm trying to change it up and present different flavor profiles that are out of the norm from other breweries. So it's one way to help us stand out from everyone.
Do you want to tell what hops are in this beer, or is it a big secret?
It's actually, that one I probably shouldn't tell.
I respect that.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's interesting how the trends in beer tend to become more and more homogenous as they become more and more popular. Like IPA in general, which is itself a pretty broad category of beers, was the huge popular beer for a long time, and then it became specifically New England IPAs, and hazy IPAs, and that brewing style that gives you that outcome that had previously been something you fought against. Now people want, but then as you said, even going further and further along, now everybody wants the same hops in all their hazy IPAs. They want those buzzwords, and it's refreshing to hear somebody enthusiastically brewing such a trendy style of beer while still trying to make it unique and original and working to differentiate yourself, because they do. A lot of them, Steph's right. A lot of them you come across are very samey in that style of beer.
Well, I mean, if it works, then a lot of people are why change it? And quite honestly, if you try Haze Daddy, it's probably going to taste similar to a lot of people's hazy IPAs because it works. It's a hop profile that works well together and goes. But you have to evolve. If you don't evolve, then you get left behind. And I still homebrew, so I play with stuff at home, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And it's a lot easier to dump 5 gallons at home than it is to dump 5 barrels at work because it didn't work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that where you get most of your recipes from? Do you take them? Do you scale them up from homebrewing to the bigger system?
Some I'm just in my mind. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure I can pull this off. The IPAs, certain hop blends I will play with because sometimes they work really well together, and sometimes you end up with just what I describe as a muddled hoppy mess. It doesn't have any distinct flavor; it just tastes like hops, and that, to me, that's not good beer. It's not something I want to drink, anyways. But I get inspiration from everything. Whether it's I enjoy cooking, so sometimes I'll make something and get a flavor profile from something I've eaten or some that I've seen somewhere, and it's like I wonder if I can carry that over into a beer somehow. That's how the Christmas beer came about. That you're drinking there, Steph. I had a baked brie that had been topped with pomegranate molasses and rosemary, and I thought that pomegranate and rosemary were delicious. So obviously I wasn't going to put brie in a Christmas beer, but I could certainly put pomegranate and rosemary into it, and it turned out wonderful. I was quite pleased with it. So
that sounds really good.
Yeah, it does sound good.
Now, we mentioned the can art, but I think we should also mention that you guys have just recently started canning your beers. Was that a plan in the works ever since Brew Daddy opened, or is that something that because of the pandemic got pushed to the forefront?
When I came on board, I started in July there. When I came on board, it was something that they expressed some interest in doing. And then as the pandemic continued to ravage business, we decided to expedite that. And very quickly started researching, getting some lines in, and seeing what we could get in for us to jump on that. And we just got our canning line showed up basically the week before Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, yeah, you've really only been canning for a very brief period of time.
We have, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys are also, I know you guys do like pickup and local delivery of beers, I saw on your website, but you guys also ship anywhere in the state. More of a limited selection there, but you can get, I guess, 4-packs essentially shipped.
Yes, yeah, we can ship 4-packs, and obviously any of our glassware or shirts, other merch, stuff like that, we can ship to anywhere in the state. It was one of those things that thankfully the state, the PLCB, surprisingly made very easy for us to do once all this stuff happened. And so we just started that about 2 weeks ago, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Now, I ordered my pickup order online and then did the curbside pickup, which was super smooth, super easy. The guy that brought our stuff out was really friendly and sweet. But one of the things I really loved is you guys can do a mix 4-pack also. So, like I mentioned, IPAs aren't necessarily my thing, but since I could get 1 can of it to be able to try it and experience it, I thought that was really cool that I could get 4 different beers in a mixed 4-pack. So that was a nice surprise when I placed my order.
Absolutely. At this point, we're trying to make it easy for everybody. Whatever they need to order beer. Everybody has varied tastes, and like you said, not everybody wants nothing but IPAs. So whatever we can do to make it easy for people to buy beer, we are trying to do. So whether it's the mixed 4-packs or we do mixed cases as well. So, if you want a mixed case of all 3 of our IPAs, or you want one of the IPAs and the pastry stout and the sour, we can make all of that happen.
And I didn't realize that because my pickup order was the first time I've been to Brew Daddy's. I didn't realize you guys are literally across the street from the arena on Hamilton Street in Allentown. That's a amazing spot to be in once events are able to happen again.
It is. It's kind of weird not having that rush, and it's funny. The owners keep telling me about it, but I haven't yet to experience it. Having started in July, we're also hoping to get some projects going with the Phantoms, possibly in the arena as well once they open back up for business.
Yeah, so I guess opening November 2019, even before you were there, they may have had those event rushes, but they didn't get to experience them for very long because, they only had a few precious months before the pandemic closed in. So, but the good news is, as things start opening back up, it sounds like you got a prime location there, so that'll be nice. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to actually have the brew house at its full potential.
And speaking of Brew Daddies at the time of the onset of the COVID pandemic, I'm reading here that Brew Daddies wasn't always the name, that it used to be called Hop Daddies.
Correct.
And that changed in March of this year.
Correct.
Are you aware of the reason for that change?
I am. Okay. I am. So believe it or not, the night that Hop Daddies opened, a letter showed up. That was C&D from a bar in Texas called Hop Dodies. That specializes in burgers and craft beer. And they said, "Hey, we want you to stop using that name." And so the owner reached out to them and just reached out to their owner and said, "Hey, can we work something out?" And they're like, "Well, we can work something out as long as you stop using the name." It sounds kind of harsh, but they were actually, once we started talking to them and working with them, they became fairly pleasant about it. And the owners wanted to keep the Daddies aspect to it and came up with Brew Daddies. And as of March, that change officially took place.
And they couldn't resist the urge to throw an umlaut in there when they changed the name, because we should mention for our listeners, you've probably seen it in the show notes, but if you're listening to this, it's BRU with an umlaut, Daddies, which I would argue is a better name than Hop Daddies anyway, so I think you guys came out on top.
Yeah, the umlaut carries some gravitas.
Yeah, you gotta love an umlaut.
But also, like, Hop Dodies and Hop Daddies.
What a Hop Dodies? That's a weird name.
What is a Dodie? But also, that is very legally distinct and very clearly not the same name.
Well, and from my research, I guess the articles that I read about it, one of the biggest things is people were contacting this Hop Dodies place to book events at their new Allentown location. So there were legit people that were very confused about this and thought that it was part of them. But I believe that the Hop Dodies people actually helped financially to change over the branding and the signage. So they did help with this. So it's not like they were just like, "Hey, assholes, change your name." And I mean, it sounds like they were very easy to work with.
They were. Like I said, once Rich, our one owner, reached out to them directly to their owner, they were quite pleasant to work with. And,
that's good. But what is a Dodie? Like, seriously, what is a Dodie? Is that a thing that I just don't know?
Can't get past this.
Isn't Dodie the house elf from Harry Potter?
Dobby.
That's Dobby. Yeah.
It's a good try.
I'm guessing it was probably one of the name of somebody that was involved in that business.
Yeah, I mean,
but I'm not sure.
There's a musician, Mike Doty.
It's kind of funny that Steph had mentioned about reading about people actually mistaking the businesses, because you always hear about in these cease and desist and like copyright arguments, the complaint is that it will cause confusion among consumers, and that will erode our business or whatever. And that's always hypothetical, but like we have an actual real life example of people who are actually confused by the name. So I feel like that's one of the few legitimate sort of C&D claims we've heard about on this show before, because it sounds like they had the right to make the complaint and they were very cool about it. So
they did, and they handled it well. And like you guys said, I think we actually came out with a better name.
Yeah. It's the umlaut. Like I said, it's got the gravitas.
Can't make good German beers without that umlaut in there.
That's true.
Yes.
So has this artist from New York with Lehigh roots, were they on board? Like, is the mural something that's been at the brewery since the beginning? And so it's just a natural progression for him to then do the can art?
Yes. He painted the mural before they even opened. And, if you go in and see the mural, it's basically a mural of the Lehigh Valley, specifically out the Allentown area, and tries to represent the area and the diversity of the area. Which ties into a lot of his art already.
And his name is Denton Burrows, for those that are listening. We're actually looking up some of his other work online as well. But I love how, you look at a can, you see the Brew Daddies, the guy with the hop beard and the top hat, and the name clearly across the top. But every can is its own unique piece of art. And it's just really, each can is like a mural in itself. It's really inspiring and interesting to look at.
Yeah, I've enjoyed his working with him to create these. I get to describe the beer to him, and we give him a rough idea of what we'd like to see, and then he just runs with it.
Very cool.
It's so cool. We're looking at his Instagram page right now.
What's his
It's
Instagram?
quite interesting to look at.
What's his handle or whatever the kids say nowadays?
At Denton Burrows.
It's just at Denton Burrows. All right, cool. Check it out.
I'm opening. This is Granddaddy Haze.
Yes, that is
Double New England.
Yes.
And for those of you with your scorecards, be sure to tick off the box next to Windsor Nut Brown Ale from Shy Bear, which is what Dan and I have cracked open, because since I saw this can in the pack, I was like, I'm really excited to try this beer.
That's really a really lovely brown ale, by the way.
It's very nice.
Hmm.
But the haze is with Steph.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what she thinks of this.
Yeah,
She's
me
not
too.
in person.
Yeah.
This is fun.
It's definitely more on the juicy fruit side of things.
That is very much the big hops there. That's Galaxy, and then I got my hands on a fairly new hop that's coming out of Michigan called Bergamot. That is described by the growers out there as orange as fuck. That is how they described it to me when I was asking them what I could get my hands on. And,
Nice. If only you could put that on the can.
Yeah, right.
Some of the things that seem to be getting by the TTB right now, we might have been able to do it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, you could just do AF. I mean, that might get past.
Yeah.
I actually think I like this even a little more than the Winter Dreams.
It's a little more balanced. You can get away with a little more bitterness and try to slide it a little more towards the traditional IPA that I like to drink. So
I think another thing that's happening with not being able to drink out as much anymore, we're kind of in Pennsylvania, the current state of things, of course, is we can't go to bars and we can't eat in restaurants
The current
anymore.
state of things is no.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think it's making me appreciate certain beers that like the IPA, for example. I mean, typically you'd go to a brewery and we knew we were going to have to try the IPAs, but now I'm buying whatever I want to drink. And most of the things in my fridge are lagers or like imperial stouts or brown ales or English ales, like things that I want to drink. I'm not typically going out and picking up IPAs. So I think when I do have one, I'm appreciating it a little bit more and enjoying it more than I did perhaps a year ago from now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's
Am I
interesting.
making it up?
Yeah, well, because the circumstances and the experience around drinking beer is almost as important as the beer itself, as to like how you think of it, like you might remember a beer fondly because you had a really great night trying this beer with your friends, but like maybe it wasn't that great, or you had a beer that was amazing but you weren't paying attention because something else was going on. So yeah, I mean, lockdown and quarantine has changed so much about our lives. I mean, it's going to have an effect on, if you're not drinking, because drinking is such a social thing. And if you're stuck doing it at home, it's going to change your choices and probably what you think about what you're drinking. It's opened up your mind a little bit, Steph.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. Steph is coming around.
Or
to the
Todd's just really good at brewing.
Well, that's
beers.
probably true too.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
That's it right there.
Speaking of how good Todd is at brewing beers, why don't we dig into your personal history as a brewer a little bit? We talked a lot about Brew Daddies, but you've been to a number of locations that are pretty well known and loved around here. So, what started you on your beer journey, and how did that eventually bring you to Brew Daddies?
My beer journey started when my wife drugged me to the middle of nowhere in Minnesota about 8 years ago.
That's an interesting beginning to a story.
Yeah.
It is. So having lived here in the Valley, I obviously, had plenty of wonderful access to beers, beer bars, things like that. And then when you move out there, and when I say the middle of nowhere, I was closer to South Dakota than I was to Minneapolis.
Ha, wow.
I really was in the middle of nowhere. And basically, most of what was available to me was the yellow fizzy stuff, the flavorless yellow fizzy stuff. So I started home brewing, and because I needed real beer, I needed flavor and things like that. And as I became much more interested in that, a local guy opened a brewery in the town that I happened to be living in, surprisingly. And I became friends with him. And I arranged at my job at the time so that I could get all my work done in 4 days. And my 5th day, I would go in and help him at his brewery. So that was my first experience with professional brewing. Was basically on I was his brew bench for the day.
Say helping him brew meant just cleaning everything up, right?
I cleaned up. I hauled his grain bags around, and all that stuff. I got to learn the finer skills of wiping down stainless steel tanks and things like that. But it was a good experience, and it showed me the crappy side of the job, and I learned that I could deal with that if I got to make beer. So fast forward a little bit, and my wife and I, we had 2 kids and decided we wanted to come back to the Valley, to where our parents were, to have some help with the kids. And I told her, hey, when we move back, I'm going to take a big pay cut over what I was doing. I was in the pharmaceutical industry before that.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a big pay cut, but I'm going to be a really happy guy because I'm going to make beer. And she was okay with that. So we got back to the Valley, and I started looking around. And at first, everybody wanted nothing to do with me because I had no professional brewing experience. But Josh at Two Rivers said, hey, I'm going to give you the worst possible jobs I can give you. And I said, okay, bring it. And so that's where my professional brewing experience began, was with Josh at Two Rivers.
That sounds like Josh. Give somebody a chance, but make him go through hell for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, hey, he did it right. He wanted to make sure that this was what I wanted to do. And you got to learn the whole thing. It's not just about sitting there on the brew house, dumping hops into it. There's times where you're underneath tanks, scrubbing, with a sponge, scrubbing the bottom of the tanks, and
or squeegeeing pumpkin pulp into a drain that it won't go down.
yes, or somehow Josh got blackberry puree on the ceiling and clean it off.
Oh my god!
Wow. Hey, you know what? I just realized, just to plug our YouTube channel again for a second, you can actually watch Josh brewing a little bit on our YouTube channel, because years ago we did a collaboration beer with Josh at Two Rivers. It was a hoppy sour. And we filmed it a little bit, and it's on our YouTube channel. But yeah, Josh is a great guy. I assume he's a great guy to work with. We did it. I mean, we collabed with him, but we weren't. It was the light celebrity beer collab, not the really get dirty and work beer collab. So
our collabs are just a reason to start drinking at 10 a.m. Yeah. I mean, that's really what they are. No, Josh.
We actually worked.
Oh, we did some work. I know.
We got dirty.
Oh, you guys did. I wasn't there.
Dan
we
wasn't
were
there. That's
I was
right.
nunchucking with brewing equipment.
No, I was there for the release party, but you guys did all the hard work.
Dan just showed up to
I
drink
showed
the
up to
beer when it was
yeah.
done.
For anyone who doesn't know, I worked multiple jobs at the time, and my schedule sucked, and I couldn't get out of work to go brew. Otherwise, I happily would have been.
No,
there.
I know. It was a good time though. But yeah.
I'm not completely just a lazy asshole. I'm an asshole and lazy, but not a lazy asshole.
But once we knew that Josh Bushy had taken you under your wing to start you on your brewing career, we knew that you were someone that we could have on the show.
Awesome. Yeah, he was. He's a fantastic guy, and probably well, there's no probably about it. He's the best brewer I know. Just all around. You put a style, ask him to brew a style, and he's going to give you a very good representation of that style.
Especially,
And most likely it will be 6% ABV.
especially if it's 6% ABV. That's his nickname is 6% Josh.
Yes. He will tell you that you can't sell a beer if it's less than 5%, and he doesn't want to sell a beer if it's more than 7%. So that's where you end up with the 6.
There are arguments on both sides of that, really.
There are.
I've seen too many people lose it from drinking too many 10% imperial stouts or 9.5% triples that go down too easy, and you have 2 or 3 of them, and it just doesn't end well.
Yep. Yeah, I used to almost exclusively gravitate towards the higher ABV beers, and maybe I'm just getting old. I'd like to think of it as refined, but I don't see the joy in doing that anymore. I still appreciate them, but I have like 7 or 8 bottles of 10+% beer that I've had for a very long time that I'm not like, I want to drink them, but I kind of don't want to drink them either because I don't want to. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to have the drink and then just be done for the rest of the night. I'd much rather drink something in the realm of 6%, even though I used to give Josh shit for that. That's kind of a perfect number for ABVs if you think of it.
It's the perfect ABVs.
I think the perfect ABV is about 4.5. But you can't sell them, so
right.
we don't.
I mean,
we don't make them.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. The 4.5 percenters, they have their time and place, and Lord knows I love them because I can crush them and not feel it. But for me, the 6 to 7% ones are the ones that, like, you can have a few and you feel okay, you feel good, but you're not going to hurt the next day. I mean, unless you keep going, but then that's your mistake and your problem.
Yeah, but Dan, you're going to hurt the next day whether
matter
you're
what.
drinking
Listen,
or not.
I hurt every day of my life.
Dan broke his knee earlier kicking a box.
I'm convinced something is torn.
You're
I
getting
didn't
old.
kick a box. I went to move a box out of the way with my foot, and I didn't know how heavy it was, and I didn't compensate for it, and I heard a lot of cracking and crunching in my knee.
And he fell on the floor.
Yeah, and now I can't straighten my leg.
A little behind the scenes
Yeah.
nugget there for you.
Oh, please leave this in.
Oh, absolutely. There's no sense in suffering from the pain if it doesn't make other people laugh.
Yes.
Fair
That
enough.
box was full of several pounds of knowledge.
Yeah, pounds. Yeah.
Tons.
Yeah, let's go with that.
So anyway,
Okay.
you cut your teeth at Two Rivers Brewing with our good friend Josh. And then, so how long were you there, and what was your next step?
I was there a year and a half, and basically Josh walked in one morning and said, "Hey, come in here."
You're fired.
No. I walked into his office and he said, "Hey, Free Will is hiring, and I'm going to be really disappointed in you if you don't apply."
Wow.
No.
Or else you're fired.
And I was like, "All right, fair enough. I'll go home and apply to this." And I applied and interviewed, and then didn't hear from him. And we were like, okay, well, at least I tried, and went back to working with Josh. And finally, about a month and a half later, I got a call from Free Will, said, "Hey, the original guy we wanted to hire didn't take the job, and so we want to offer you the job." And they didn't want me because I didn't have a actual school knowledge as far as brewing. I have no brewing certificate or anything like that.
Right.
I didn't go to Siebel or any of that stuff. But they said they want to take a chance on me, primarily because Josh told them they should take a chance on me, and everybody likes Josh, of course. So they brought me in, and that was quite the change, going from a little brew pub at Two Rivers to a production facility like Free Will.
Yeah.
But,
when was
you
it?
know,
What year was this that you started at Free Will?
I started Free Will. It was May of 2019, I believe.
Okay. So not too terribly long ago.
No, not at all.
Okay. I'm just trying to fit all this course of events like into our experience with all these different breweries to figure out where you were when.
It happened very quickly.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I wasn't at Two Rivers for very long, and I wasn't at Free Will for a significantly long time. But I went from working for one amazing brewer to working with a collection of amazing brewers at Free Will. So I've been able to learn from some amazing minds in the beer scene here in Eastern PA.
I still wonder what John Stemler pumps in the air there, that he gets the group of people and the talent that he gets to work for him. It's crazy.
He definitely seems to draw talent. John's a very special person, and I mean that in the best way. And he has just attracted equally special people.
Yeah.
I worked with some absolutely incredible brewers while I was there, and it's funny. Within 6 months, 3 of us left Free Will, and all of us are now head brewers at breweries around the state.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Not only do talented people brew there, but Free Will has probably given more head brewers to this region than I would think than any other place.
It's one of those.
Iron Hill's probably
Iron
first.
Hill's
true.
one.
Yeah,
You get these breweries.
Free Will would be his second.
That for like periods of time become like incubators for like
that's a good word for it.
great brewers who either join new places or go and open their own places. And Free Will has definitely been one. And I think because John does attract and takes care to maintain great talent, but that in turn gives Free Will that sort of prestige. Like when I think of Free Will, like if you brew at Free Will, you must know what you're doing. Like, and so that kind of feeds into it. And so then people want to work at Free Will who are talented. But there's been other brewers like Weyerbacher a few years ago was kicking out brewers who were gone and opening places.
That's true.
And
yeah.
Sly Fox has done it with Mainstay. And
even in the Lehigh Valley, Fegley's is
Fegley's is another one.
Bo trained a collection of people when he was there, and that's where Josh got his start, and then obviously Mike from Sage Alley started there. CJ Pinzone, who went up to Wall and Paul Pack and went out the Trogs for a while. They all started with Bo at Fegley's. I think it's mainly who is running the production facility, and John's doing a fantastic job at Free Will and has pumped a bunch of us out of there. So,
and then
I really want to drink this Schwartz beer.
Oh, you have a Schwartz beer?
Yeah, I was
now
looking
I'm
at that in
jealous.
the notes.
Award-winning Schwartz beer.
An award-winning Schwartz
Yeah.
beer. All right, let's talk about this award-winning Schwartz beer that
Let's
Steph's
do it.
drinking.
Hold on. I do have to say, I remember like maybe 2 years ago, I desperately tweeted on the Beer Busters account begging people to make Schwartz beers because
remember
no
that.
one was making Schwartz beers anymore. And now I'm just in cloud 9. The number of brewers that are pumping out Schwartz beers right now, it's like, it's heaven.
Steph,
I'm so happy.
We all love to drink them. It's just for a while there, nobody wanted to buy them. So, but I told the owners that I was going to brew one, and they said, first off, what are you going to make? And I said, and they said, are we going to be able to sell that? And I said, probably not, but it's going to be delicious.
Steph, do you consider yourself an influencer then?
I'd like to lie to myself and tell myself.
I
that
will
am,
say,
but
if any of the three of us are legitimately an influencer, it's Steph.
Have you had the one from McCall yet?
yes, I drank that last night actually.
Yeah, Matt.
Because I was like, I'm driving up to Allentown to go to Brew Daddy's. I might as well go to McCall. Everyone's been telling me I had to get there. So yeah, I've been. I also had the Bon and McCall English mild that they did together, the collaboration. That was quite
Especially
nice.
special. Yeah, I have a 4-pack. Well, I have 3 left of a 4-pack sitting in my fridge of that.
I only have 2 left of the 4-pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really pleased about the lagers and the English ales that are being brewed right now. And I don't know, perhaps the pandemic has sort of inspired this a little bit, because there's definitely more tank space available.
True.
With beer not going out the door quite as quickly as before. So I don't know. And people like me, I mean, I was for a long time that person that I didn't want to drink the same thing more than once. And now I am buying hordes of the same thing of what I really want to drink. So I think especially those of us that have been drinking craft beer for so long, one thing that's comforting during this time when we can't go out and drink at breweries and bars is getting mass amounts of the beers that make us happy and we want to drink. So if people are brewing lagers, and especially Schwartz beers, because they're one of my favorites, I'm going to stock up on them.
Yeah, I think there is there's a crossover between the realm of like tailgate beers and quarantine beers. You know?
Oh, good point.
You know, like when you're like, I'm stuck at home, I can't do anything. I want to like, you're gonna get those easy drinking poundable beers.
That's a good point.
Oh, look at that!
Oh, you look like you're in heaven.
Steph is showing off the Schwartz beer, beautifully poured.
Oh man,
into the Brew Daddy's glass.
I really
Perfect
wanted to
amount of
open
head.
it. I wanted to open a beer before we started recording. But I was like, I don't want it to be this, because I know this is the medal winning one and I want to really talk about it and I want to get my reaction on the show. So I was like, I'll do the Meritzen because it's at least a lager and I know I love it, but this is really freaking good.
Thank you. I was quite proud of that one.
So it's a silver medal winner.
It is the silver medal. It won the silver medal in the U.S. Open Beer Championship.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I guess that would have been your first medal as a head brewer, right?
That is my first as a head brewer, yes.
Ooh, awesome.
Nice.
Congrats.
That's fabulous. Good for you.
Thank you.
What an awesome beer to win.
I was going to say, to win on a Schwartz beer, that's cool.
Yes. I had a good time telling that to the owner. You know.
Yeah, vindication.
Like, I said, "Hey, we won a medal," and he's like, "Oh, great! Was it one of the IPAs or the sour?" And I was like, "No, it was the Schwartz beer that we're not selling." And suddenly we're selling it.
You're gonna say, having the award, that probably draws people to it.
Award winning gets people to buy it.
Yeah, people want to drink award-winning beers, and brewery owners want to be able to say they have won awards. So
Absolutely.
This is good in 2 ways.
There was Steph. Remember that one? We went on a brewery hopping trip in Jersey.
Oh
we,
yeah, because
we just
I
went to
drink
every
the
brewery
gold
that
medal.
medaled at GABF and drank all the medaling beers.
But the beer that inspired the trip, the brew 8 and Sun won. 8 and Sand won the gold medal for chili beer.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
I needed to have the gold medal winning chili beer that year. And then our whole trip, it was just inspired by other medal winning breweries in Jersey. That was a really fun day, actually.
It was. Yeah, it was a good time. Very cool.
So the, I don't know, have we said the name of the Schwartz beer? It's Black Sheep, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So I have to ask, because it's me, is it named Black Sheep as like a colloquial sense of like it's the black sheep of the offerings, or is it like a reference to a movie? Or because there's 2 movies I can think of that I would like it to be named after.
It's nothing to do with the movie. It's all the names generally have something to do with family oriented, so it's the black sheep of the family kind of thing.
Okay.
It works because it's the black sheep of the tap list, and it's also a black beer.
Yeah.
Yes.
May the Schwartz be with you.
May the Schwartz be with you. There you go. We made a movie pun for you, Dan.
Yeah, that name was taken, unfortunately.
I was going to say, you do know that I named an episode that, right, Steph?
Yeah, may the Schwartz
and I was
be
sitting
with
on
you.
that pun for like 3 years before I named that episode.
Yeah, I remember
know.
She's not impressed.
She's not. No, she's never impressed by the puns.
That's nothing unusual.
All of our episodes used to be beer puns. And
that
at
went on
first
for a
they were
long
like,
time.
oh, it's funny. And then they quickly became dad jokes. And I was like, oh, another Dan pun.
See, this is what happens. You start a beer podcast and you're like, oh, every episode is going to have a title that's like a clever beer pun, you know? Like Who Framed Lager Rabbit?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
One of my favorite titles. But then you get 20 episodes into the podcast and you're like, there's none
Where the
left.
fuck do I go from here?
We've used them all. There's only so many.
Now
beer
they're
puns to go around.
just named after stupid things that come up in the podcast episode.
Well, that's the traditional podcast way.
Yeah, it's more organic that way.
You pick the most salacious soundbite out of context, and that's your episode title.
I approve of that.
I do want to touch on one thing quickly, because you've mentioned the owners a couple of times at Brew Daddies, who you work for, obviously, who own the place.
Yes.
And I get the impression that maybe they aren't the biggest beer geeks. So, what's the story of the founding of the business? I mean, I know you've only been there for so long and you weren't there at the beginning, but as far as you have learned, what's the story of the company?
It's a father and son, Rich and Kevin Ryan, and they originally, Rich worked in the corporate world. He worked for Pfizer and he worked for Alpo and all these large corporations in their marketing department, believe it or not, and eventually left that, and they started building custom homes.
Okay.
And realized they did not enjoy doing that, and then got into the frozen yogurt industry. They own the Minchie's frozen yogurt franchises in the Lehigh Valley.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we're looking into getting something else going, and looked into a couple ideas and didn't find anything. And Kevin, the son, is into craft beer. Said, hey, why don't we do a pizza and beer place? And so they started looking around, trying to, doing research, trying to figure out how they want to do it. And eventually decided that it made sense to actually brew their own beer. And we're looking for a location, and went down to talk to a developer in Center City, Allentown, who said, hey, I'm glad you came to talk to me because I already have ideas for a beer garden. So why don't we just combine our ideas and make this happen? And that's where it all came from, was that. It's interesting. Rich, the one owner, does not drink beer whatsoever. He'll if somebody says, hey, this is really good, he'll try a sip and go, yeah, okay, that's really good. And that's about it, but just doesn't drink. Whereas Kevin is, he's like us. He's going to go on trips to Vermont or, out to Washington just to go visit breweries. But they're very good people who have my back, and it's nice that they're like, yeah, make good beer, and that's all we're worried about.
That's cool. It's cool that you get that sort of free reign to be creative and do your own thing.
It really is, and they do it. All of us on the creative side of things at the restaurant have that free reign. The pizza guy, they aren't telling him what type of pizzas to make, and the kitchen guy, they aren't telling him, what sandwiches they want or what appetizers they want. It's just, hey, put together a good menu, put together a good tap list, and let's go. So,
I'm thinking it through in my mind, and at first,
where else would you be thinking it
I
through?
was waiting for one of you to say it. I wouldn't have thought originally that having an owner who doesn't drink beer owning a brewery would be I thought that would be a bad thing, but as I'm thinking it through, it kind of probably makes more sense to have at least one person calling some of the financial shots that doesn't drink the beer, because he's got more of a big picture aspect. Whereas if it's a beer drinker, they're going to focus on the beer, but there's the restaurant, there's the kitchen, you got to welcome people in, you got to do the events with the phantoms.
Somebody's got to clean the toilets.
And somebody's got to clean the damn toilets. But I feel like
why does the person that doesn't drink beer have to be the one that cleans the toilet?
I don't know.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I was inferring. Dan was just delineating all these things that businesses need.
No,
to operate.
You need to look at the pizza menu. I just want pizza now.
I always want pizza, and I was fighting myself to not look at the pizza menu because I would want pizza even more.
Yeah, I don't think they deliver pizza from Allentown to Philadelphia.
Do you deliver pizza from Allentown to Philly?
Pizza.
No.
The funky
The mushroom.
Yes.
It has black truffle Parmesan cream on it.
Now that sounds good.
It's fantastic.
Oh, man.
They also have not chicken nuggets, so that makes me happy.
Oh,
On
that's
chicken.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you should do a chicken bacon ranch that's not chicken and also faking bacon for people like Steph.
We made this week alone because we were very outrageous in the kitchen with not having to work. We made vegan bacon from scratch. We made vegan brisket. What else did we make? Sausages. We also made vegan sausage.
What did
Meaning like we needed the meat dough. Well, I mix it and she needs it.
Yeah. Of the two of you, Dana's the one to get her hands dirty. I can see that. That's fairly obvious.
Vegan brisket. I'm intrigued.
Oh my god,
by
it was so good, Dan. You don't even know.
What did you make it out of?
Try it.
Was it like
It's so
tofu,
freaking good.
seitan, like?
Well, so it's mainly like vital wheat gluten is the big thing because it's basically seitan, but there is some tofu in it because that gives it like the fat chunk, like the look of fat. And there's jackfruit in it, and then just like a fuck ton of other things to give it flavor. And then you pan fry it first, so it gets like all burned and charred on the outside. So you actually get like burnt ends, and then you finish it in the oven. And it was like, I mean, I'm someone that has not had meat in over 15 years, but it was like, oh my God, it was so good. It was so good.
See, that's interesting because like I know a lot of the plant-based meats that are out there now are like really starting to nail it. Like there's this sausage that Gardein makes. It's a breakfast sausage and it's great. And there's so many of these that like, you know,
the Beyond breakfast sausage is the best.
I've heard that.
Spicy
Yeah.
ones. Oh my God, they're so good.
But what always
it's
gets
impossible to be a healthy vegan anymore because they have all this stuff now. When I first became vegan 15 years ago, I lost so much weight and I was so healthy, and now
it's like
vegan treats.
Well, that's why I'm like curious
everywhere.
Why I was curious about like what was actually in it, because like I still eat meat, but I also eat vegan meat a lot. And it's really like it's not exactly the same, but it's really close. But I always worry that it's really close because it's full of like crazy fucking chemicals that are like imitating the taste of meat. So if you're making it yourself at home, I was just curious like what sort of more natural process.
Well, yeah, and now that I mean, it definitely takes time. It takes a long time to make these things. Like the brisket, it had to be kneaded, and then
to be fair, it takes a long time to grow a cow.
3 hours. It had to be boiled for 3 hours.
Boiled?
I never boil anything that long.
Boiled.
Yes. You wrap it in foil and then wrap it in plastic wrap to keep the shape, and you boil it for 3 hours.
Although, question: would something like that be better suited with a sous vide?
I don't know what that means.
It's it's a precision.
You vacuum seal it and then boil it, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can. Yeah, just use like a Ziploc bag, or my buddy Justin gave me one, and he gave me pork chops that I was supposed to sous vide and then grill. And like, I know you're not going to do pork chops, but it's precision heating in water. It just keeps it at a constant temperature for however long you need. So like I see.
So it might not have to boil as long.
Yeah,
you basically cook it, and it will never overcook. You just set the temperature that you want it to cook to, and that's as hot as it ever gets.
Well, the reason you boil it, the meat dough, that long is because you're looking to get it, first of all, to be solid and have like some
meat
bite to it, and it gives it the texture, that meaty, chewy texture.
Right.
So like we made sausages last night because we're gonna make like bacon wrap sausages. I'm using air quotes to take for New Year's Eve. But the sausages kind of fell out of their foil a little bit, so we had to rewrap them. But so they didn't get as firm. But I mean, it's all good. We salvaged it. All will be fine. But
yeah. Yeah, you should.
But,
you should look into
but to get back to my point,
right.
I'm really impressed by all of the vegetarian options on the Brew Daddy's menu.
The cauliflower.
They even have vegan cheese for the pizzas.
We do. We do. Cool. We also have cauliflower crusts on pizzas if you want those. And the cauliflower poppers for a shareable is absolutely fantastic as well.
I had cauliflower for the first time in my life in the year 2020.
And now everything you make has cauliflower in it.
For the longest,
Dan has become like the biggest cheerleader for cauliflower.
Yeah, so cauliflower crust pizza, I'm all in for. There's a cauliflower mac and cheese I want to try now that I have a Dutch oven.
I think cauliflower helps to prevent breast cancer. So good for you, Dan.
All right, my tits are going to be okay.
Yes.
Save the titties.
Check them every day.
That's cool. I'm getting very hungry talking about all the food, but specifically, I gotta get out there. I gotta get to Allentown.
Well,
so
not
many
now
reasons.
because you can't. Well,
Well,
you can
obvious-
get food to go.
You can
Right,
take
get the
out,
food to
yeah.
go, eat it in my car shamelessly, of course.
There may be a vegan treats trip in my very near future. There was almost one last weekend, which was when I was going to go get the beer, but it didn't happen. So if there is, I will have to swing by and grab some
There you
beers.
go.
Yes.
And I would highly recommend a stop at Bon and McCall's as well.
Well, Bon is just a given.
If you go, I'm going to give you like $70 to
Oh,
bring me
boy.
beer.
Jeez. I'm a mule now.
Well, we went to Muhlenberg, so yeah.
Oh, boy.
You won't have to wait any lines around Allentown, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
line life now.
Well, I don't want to chug this beer.
Right,
so
yeah, dare I
can
ask?
encourage us to maybe play a game so I
Is
can
that what we're going to do now?
enjoy this beer?
Cheers, Internet, and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games, the podcast trivia segment that has been described as a muddled, hoppy mess. Today on Beer Busters, we are joined by Todd Reinhardt from Brew Daddy's Brewing Company in Allentown, Pennsylvania. He will be joining my co-hosts, Dan and Steph, in a competition for glory, prestige, and absolutely no tangible rewards. This is Beer Busters. This is Happy Fun Time Games. My name is Wayne, and today our game is There's Weird in My Beer.
Okay.
This is a game in which I will tell you about beers that have unusual, exotic, and sometimes disgusting ingredients, and you will have 3 multiple choice options to guess what the weird is in each beer. And of course, we begin, in time-honored tradition, to my left with Dan. Our first beer of the game. In the summer of 2019, Three Heads Brewing released a beer fit for fall in collaboration with a beloved local bakery in their hometown of Rochester, New York. It's brewed with lactose, cinnamon, vanilla, and the signature item served at that bakery. Is it maple bacon bagels,
Wait, what?
apple fritters, or zucchini bread?
Zucchini bread better not be their signature item. Zucchini bread's good, don't get me wrong.
But it's not signature item material.
It's not signature item to define your bakery off of.
All right, that's fair.
You had me at maple bacon until you said bagels, so I'm going with apple fritters.
All right, you got a problem with bagel?
I don't have a problem with bagels, but I think maple bacon is better suited to a donut than it is a bagel.
All right, fair enough. Moving on to Steph. Is it maple bacon bagels, apple fritters, or zucchini bread?
I'm going to say apple fritters.
Steph also saying apple fritters, agreeing with Dan. Finally, Todd, what do you think?
I have to be different. I'll go with the bagels.
Going with the bagels, I appreciate it. Unfortunately, you are wrong. Dan and Steph are correct. It is
Yes.
apple fritters, yes. A local institution since 1958, Donuts Delight in Rochester, New York, is famous for their apple fritters. The
Wait,
pa-
what makes them famous for them? I love
Yeah,
apple
and
I
fritters.
know. I don't know.
The place has donut in the name. Why is the
Yeah.
I
fritter-
need a listener from Rochester to send me some apple fritters.
Yes, tell us. Or you can try this beer. The pastry shop teamed up with Three Heads Brewing to make Donuts Delight Apple Fritter Ale. Brewed with over 1,500 gallons of fresh pressed apple cider and 720 huge glazed apple fritters. Yeah,
I want this.
I know it sounds
I kind of
pretty
do
good.
too, yeah.
Cinnamon. It does have lactose, which I mean, I'm sure it helps, but
Yeah.
vanilla and cinnamon, lactose, and vanilla round out the
Well,
recipe.
So, for anyone that's local, I think Shady Maple makes the best apple fritters.
Oh, I haven't been to Shady Maple in a long time.
Same.
So, like, I need to have an apple fritter from this bakery to compare.
To compare
because
against
I
Shady
do
Maple?
love myself an apple fritter.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to get the fritter, the beer, and then the smorgasbord.
Although Dottie's Donuts actually makes a really freaking banging vegan apple fritter
Dottie's
as well.
Donuts makes a lot of really good everything.
Well, that's
They're,
a fact.
they're Dunkaroo donut.
Fuck you for bringing that up. God damn it.
Hold on.
was
Last
so
time I
good.
went to Dottie's, I dropped one off in your mailbox.
No, I
Dan.
know, and I greatly appreciate that because I was quarantining, like properly quarantining, but then I found out they had a Dunkaroos donut
Yeah,
that I
it was pretty
missed.
good. It was pretty good.
They
I had
didn't
one.
have the Dunkaroos when I was there.
Yeah, I got one. My girlfriend lives like 2 blocks from that place. So good.
You both suck.
I know.
You don't. You really
All right,
don't. But
all right.
you also do.
Enough about donuts. Moving on to our next beer of the game. Steph is up to guess first on this one. Brewed back in 2013 for a beer festival in Australia, our next beer is a Baltic Porter from Brew Cult. I suspect some of the judges may have deemed it to be infected, but such a sour summation would be mistaken, as it actually contains something better left at the salad bar. Does this beer have balsamic vinegar, coleslaw juice, or blue cheese crumbles?
I could actually see balsamic working with a Baltic Porter. I'm going to go with balsamic vinegar.
All right, going with the balsamic. Dan is offended. Todd, what do you think?
I'll go with balsamic as well.
All right, balsamic, Dan.
The part that's getting me is coleslaw juices.
Coleslaw juice. The juice in which the coleslaw
Do you just
sits.
like you take a handful of it and you just squeeze it and like the droppings
if
out
you
of that
pick,
are
if
what
you
put
picked
in
up
it?
if you picked up a handful of coleslaw and squeezed it over the glass, you would get a significant amount of liquid,
I love coleslaw, but
and you
this
could
is
then put that liquid in a beer.
this is foul. I'm gonna go balsamic also.
All right, everybody's saying balsamic, the least offensive answer, and also the correct answer. It was, in fact, balsamic vinegar. Yes, a balsamic vinegar Baltic Porter. It's called Acid Freaks, and it was brewed especially for, now this is the Great Australasian Beer Spectacular in 2013. That's quite the event name.
I approve.
The beer was made in 2013 for that festival. It was re-released in 2016, but the brewery, unfortunately, is now closed. Though it seems that they may be making some sort of a comeback. I found some rumblings online and social media, so...
Ooh, they're like Radio Shack.
Yeah, keep an eye out if you want to... I mean, maybe they'll make the balsamic Baltic Porter again. Maybe you won't ever get to have it in your life, but... There you go.
Todd,
Balsamic.
can you brew one?
I was thinking we should get together and brew one of those coleslaw juice beers.
I think that's a good idea.
With a side of balsamic to
I mean,
chase
it's
it with.
essentially just watery mayonnaise.
Really, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. Every part of that sounds bad to the core.
I prefer vinegar-based coleslaw.
Oh, yeah, like a German style?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and like German potato salad's pretty good doing that way. Moving on, if you guys, let me just tell you, if you were disgusted by that conversation, wait until you hear about
no.
our next beer.
Oh no.
Our penultimate beer of the game, and our guest Todd is up to guess first. This beer caused a sizable backlash when it was released by an Icelandic brewery whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce.
Oh, come on, please.
Claiming to make those who drink it into, quote, true Vikings, this pale lager is brewed with something that would cause most people to turn tail.
Oh no.
Is it fermented shark fin, crushed whale bones, or boiled seagulls?
Fermented shark fin.
Todd is going with the shark fin. Dan, what do you think?
I want to go with seagulls because isn't it illegal to get shark fin and anything from a whale?
I'm not going to answer that question even if I knew the answer because it would help you.
I'm going to say seagulls.
So you're going
Yeah.
with the seagulls. And
Wasn't-
finally, Steph.
Wasn't the Iceland brewery the one that did the whale testicle beer?
Oh shit.
That was a brewery in Iceland, yes.
Fuck.
See, I was waiting
That
for you
is
to
true.
say whale testicle, and then
That
so I
is
actually
true.
remembered something. What were the choices again?
They are fermented shark fin, crushed whale bones, or boiled seagulls.
Boiled seagulls?
That is what I said, and also what Dan picked.
But like,
But, like, how does that work? Should it be sous vide seagulls?
I'm gonna say whatever Todd said because he's the brewer, and I don't know what to pick.
Todd said the shark fin, which
Okay,
Famously-
I'll say shark fin.
goes in soup. Nobody is correct because it was the whale bones.
I wanted to change my answer, but yeah.
So
Too
do
late.
do they kill the whales for the bones, or do they just wait for the
Well,
whales
okay,
to naturally
so-
die and decompose to get the bones?
They
Well,
died of old age.
I
Sure.
think they whale in Iceland. I think they actually still whale.
Well, they did when this beer was made, which was a
Yeah.
little while ago. But so yeah, this is all a little bit unsettling. The brewery, which Dan, for your sake, is Brugus Stedja. Sounds like
Folkfinger.
something like that. They teamed up with an Icelandic whaling company. The company was called Hvalur, Hvalur, which is also the name of the beer. And they brewed a lager for a midwinter festival. It was made with whale meat and crushed whale bones. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it sounds pretty bad. It obviously caused a backlash. stating that the whale remains did not meet the food regulations of the country. West Iceland health authorities banned the drink, but the ban was soon overturned, and the limited edition beer was sold, but only in Iceland. If you look up the beer on Untappd, the commercial description simply states, yes, it has whale in it. Also, circling back to what Steph said, there was a second version of this beer made with whale testicles smoked over burning sheep dung. That was the thing, and this sounds familiar to you all because Dan reported on that beer on this very podcast way back in 2015.
And I actually remembered it.
You did.
I'm the one that spoke it, and I didn't.
But I mean, sheep dung smoked whale testicles is something that's going to stick in your mind, I think.
Apparently it
With
didn't.
that idea? How do you come up with the idea of smoking whale balls over sheep shit?
Well,
And why?
apparently the sheep shit thing is like an old Icelandic like survival thing. Like they would burn sheep dung to have fires in Iceland. So that's like a traditional thing.
How much sheep dung do they have?
Where are whales' testicles?
I don't know, in the whale scrotums?
How do fish testicles work? I don't know.
You don't know about
It's
fish
a mystery.
balls?
Science is a mystery.
Also, you
to
know
man.
whales aren't fish, right?
No, they are mammals, so they do have testicles. But where do they keep them? They don't have a cloaca. Anyway, we have one beer left in the game, so this is the point of the podcast, or at least the game within the podcast.
This is the point in the game where Wayne forgets how it works.
Exactly. But before I forget how it works, we're going to recap the scores real quick to see where everybody's standing. Dan and Steph tied with 2 points each. One wrong so far for each of them. Our guest Todd a little bit further behind with only one correct answer so far. So Todd, the best you can hope for is a tie. Dan and Steph, you guys are battling out for a victory. So the way that this works is the person who last ate fish on a summer evening goes first. No, the person who is losing gets to go last because that's the best position to be in. So we are going to swing back around and start with Dan, go to Steph, and end with Todd for our last beer of the game. Our last beer is a sour ale from Evil Twin Brewing, and if anyone knows how to do extreme beers, they do. The surprising color of this beer hints at the unusual ingredient that gives it that X factor. Is that ingredient Red Bull, Gatorade, or Mountain Dew?
I can't see Yeppe using any of those things.
Please be Mountain Dew.
Dan says, please.
I don't care if I'm wrong. I just want that to happen.
Dan wants there to be a Mountain Dew beer in the world. All right, Steph. Red Bull, Gatorade,
Okay.
Mountain Dew.
Well, so there's no way I'm not going to pick Mountain Dew because if there's a chance to win, I can't pick what Dan picked.
Good strategy.
And you said it changed the color also?
It has an unbeer-like color, shall we say.
Okay. I'm going to say Red Bull.
Steph going with Red Bull after much deliberation. Finally, Todd, Red Bull, Gatorade, or Mountain Dew?
Let's see if I can pick up a tie here and go with Gatorade.
All right, spreading the answers out, everyone with a different answer to the question, and the only one who was correct is Dan. It is, in fact, Mountain Dew. Yes. It's called Midtown Dew, and it's a sour ale brewed with lactose and Mountain Dew syrup.
That's probably...
No.
The color, as mentioned, the color of the beer has been described as Shrek.
That's great.
Seriously, Red Bull also doesn't have a distinctive color.
It's red.
No,
Somebody
have you?
came out with a
Isn't
code
it?
red.
No, it's just called red.
I don't think Red Bull is red.
No, Red
I think
Bull,
it's
it's-
a weird greenish,
I'm being
brownish.
told
It's-
it's yellow.
It's
Yeah.
like yellowish brownish.
It's an
Yeah.
unnatural color. That's why they serve it in opaque
It's the
cans.
kind of color that if your pee were that color, your doctor would be worried.
Yes, that's very
Same-
true.
same thing with
Same
Shrek.
with Shrek.
Yeah.
There's a lot of colors your pee shouldn't be. But yeah, Todd mentioned code red, so there are actually variations of this beer. There's one called Voltage, which has blue raspberry syrup, like the type you put on like shaved ice, and Code Red that has cherry and candied lemon as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
I kind of want to try that.
Yeah, Mountain Dew sour beers. I mean, there it is.
Does Code
Evil
Red
Twin.
still exist? Do they still make that?
Code Red is disgusting. I dated a girl a long time ago who drank that shit 24/7, and I just can't understand.
I loved it.
Oh, it's so good.
I would probably hate it now, but I loved it back in the day.
I loved OG Mountain Dew back in the
Mountain
day.
Duel.
Mountain Dew.
I challenge you to a Mountain Duel.
Challenge you to score a dude on the mountaintop. And I smote my enemies' ruin upon the mountainside. That's the end of the game, folks. It's done. It's over. We did it. So this is, we're going to add up the scores real quick. And we have a spread. No one's tied. We've got 3 different scores. In last place, still with only 1 question correct, unfortunately, our guest, Todd. At least you got 1. You didn't get 0. So that's better than nothing. Be glad that there's a global pandemic, or you would be being punished after this episode, sir. You got off light this time. The next time, if we ever do this podcast in person with you, you've got to try a little harder, because something will actually be on the line.
It's true.
Try harder, Todd.
I don't want to know about weird things that people put in their beers.
It would probably be a Shrek-colored beer that was brewed over a fire of sheep dung.
Yes.
I have to drink that.
Yeah.
Fair
I was
enough.
gonna put something in the seagull thing. I was trying to think like something with like salted seagull feces. But like, do you call it feces from birds?
Nah.
You just call it waste.
Yeah, it's called bird shit.
Yeah, bird shit, whatever.
droppings, right?
I guess that's technically the correct term.
Droppings. Dino drop. You'll remember to wash your hands before you eat anything. Todd has 1 point. Coming up in second place with 2 points is Steph, and our winner once again with 3 out of 4 correct answers. To my left is Dan, big time champion. Nothing for it but big ups and bragging rights. So, thanks so much for playing, everyone. Thank you for watching us. If you are doing so on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Those are the 3 things you need to do as a good YouTube person.
And you're supposed to. You said comment, but specifically, we're supposed to tell you the comments are down below.
The comments are down there.
Down below.
Link in the doobly-doo.
You
You like that one? That's a classic. But yeah, and there's a bell. Click the bell. I don't know what it does, but do it because it's good. But this is the part of the podcast where we shout out to our most generous patrons on Patreon. We are very grateful to all of these people for supporting us at a very generous level, and we would like to thank them, beginning with Dana.
I'm driving me lorry and I got the trots.
Sean Sullivan.
I love how big it is.
PA Brew Review.
You don't know they're cats.
Classic. Topher Simmons.
No.
Poor Man's Brewing Company.
Shit balls.
Jill Chivers.
I'm getting a lot of wood.
Me too. James Lamberg.
I'll tap that.
Eric Dixon.
Dude, I love cheese.
I do. Jen McDonald. They also make cheese. Brian Mills.
Don't touch my cheese.
Jesus, there's a lot about cheese.
Jesus, yeah.
Jesus H. Triscuits. Ron McDonald.
Oh, shit, I have pineapple.
And finally, the one and only, that is absolutely no baloney, Joe Mansell.
I want to freeze it and just lick it on the porch.
So do I, Joe. So do I. If you want to find out how you can get on this list of amazing, prestigious people and other behind-the-scenes perks and just help this podcast continue to happen, you go to patreon.com/beerbusters to learn more and sign up to become a patron. And if you're listening to the audio of this, don't forget, as I mentioned, it's on YouTube. You can watch us play the game as well. Cheers. And now, let's pay our tab.
Say, Yvonne, remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today. You owe me $70 billion.
I took Spanish class in high school. 4 years, I don't remember a single thing except for Donde están mis pantalones? That is where Rosetta Stone comes into play. If I actually want to step up and learn another language, Rosetta Stone has continuously set the standard in learning to enable people to change their world by learning a new language. They've helped people find their voice for over 25 years. Their innovative, technology-driven language learning solution is used by thousands of schools, businesses, government organizations, and millions of people across the globe. They have courses in 30 languages. There are some of the most commonly spoken ones, like Spanish, Mandarin, and English, for those of you who need a refresher. And there are less prominent ones like Swahili, Swedish, and Tagalog, whatever the hell that is. You can get Rosetta Stone on iOS and Android, so you can take your learning with you on the go. And for you, as a listener of Beer Busters, Rosetta Stone is offering you a 24-month subscription for less than $8 per month. If you want in on that, and why wouldn't you? you want to head to rosettapodcast.com/beerbusters. 2 years, less than $8 a month. You can learn at least one brand new language. Thanks to Rosetta Stone. Start your language learning journey today.
I just opened Granny's Bake Shop.
Oh, God.
I know, right? You're going to be jealous. It's a dark
I
chocolate
know.
raspberry bread pudding imperial stout. Oh, there's even like a KitchenAid mixer on this one.
Yeah.
And the raspberries are like, that's one badass looking granny, by the way.
Yeah, she's pretty freaky looking.
So you said this is a 10% imperial stout?
I think it's 10.2 or something like that. It finished at. It's quite the beer.
Oh, I like it.
Good.
That was a sort of a neutral expression there. Like,
Right? Oh.
It's terrible.
It's so good. It's bitter, and you get like a little hit of tartness from the raspberries, and it's sweet, but it's not like cloying sweet, and it's really nice.
Thank you. Yeah,
I feel like it's like giving the middle finger to pastry stouts. Like, this is what you should taste like.
I'm not gonna lie, there's a shit ton of lactose in that beer, but I tried to make it balanced.
Mm-hmm.
I was quite pleased with that beer though.
So Todd, I believe you have a story behind this fabulous beer.
I do. Our head chef, Gil, tries to come up with a nice dessert every month, dessert special. And one month he came walking out with this lovely chocolate bread pudding covered in a raspberry sauce, and brought it out as he, brings it out for everybody to try before we decide what he wants to, whether he wants to put it on the menu or not. And being in a restaurant, all the staff is standing around stuffing our faces with it, telling him how delicious it is. And somebody said, "Hey, you should make a beer out of this." And I said, yes, I should make a beer out of this. And I put it on the brew schedule, and I asked Gil to make me a couple sheet pans of the bread pudding.
Oh. And
I actually put some of the bread pudding into the mash when I mashed the beer in, and rolled with the beer, and it turned out absolutely fantastic. There's, like I said, the bread pudding's in it. There's multiple types of chocolate in the beer. I put raspberry puree in there to get that nice raspberry fruitiness, and I was very pleased with how that turned out. I made a mess of my brewery making that beer, but it was well worth the effort. So,
dark chocolate and raspberry are two of my favorite things ever, and together they're just my favoriteest thing ever. We actually made dark chocolate cupcakes with raspberry for Christmas, and this beer is fucking amazing. It is delicious, and I would drink a lot of this, and that would be a bad thing probably because it's 10%. But now I really want that dessert though too. I want this beer with that dessert.
We are planning on making that happen to celebrate the reopening whenever that happens to be. So,
that's a good way to celebrate the opening.
You let us know when that is, and we'll be there. I'm speaking for the others.
Was this the first beer under the Granny's Bake Shop title?
It is. So that'll be our pastry stout line of beers will be the Granny's Bake Shop. So the next one in the line will be a chocolate pecan pie.
Oh.
So.
That sounds lovely.
It is.
Any chance you're going to barrel age it in a bourbon barrel?
Eventually. This batch, I don't think so. I'm trying to keep costs down, unfortunately, so I can't justify getting another bourbon barrel in right now. So
I feel like when you say pecan pie, though, like bourbon just goes perfectly with that.
It does. I've made the beer before, and it absolutely is much better in the bourbon barrel aged version of it, but I just can't spend that money right now, unfortunately.
I understand. I
understandable.
understand.
Yeah.
But maybe your chef could make a bourbon pecan pie to go with that beer.
I imagine I can talk him into that one. Yes.
Oh, that sounds good. A bourbon infused pecan.
We made two
pecan-
bourbon pecan pies in the
pecan
last
pie.
week, so that's why it's in my mind. We use what? We use wild turkey, which I guess is technically with. What did we use? We use wild turkey.
Oh yeah.
Which is
Yeah, I guess
technically
we didn't
whiskey.
use
I don't
the-
think we can call it bourbon.
We didn't use the black.
We didn't use the black is beautiful. We use the black is beautiful for our mouths, not for our pies.
I almost finished our Black is
There's
Beautiful
still
whiskey.
a little bit left.
Just
yeah.
tiny bit.
Yeah.
What's the delineation between whiskey and bourbon again? I know it's the ABCs.
ABC, American.
Over a certain percentage barley.
B.
No, virgin barrels.
Barrels. Something about barrels. And
Single use.
Corn.
Corn.
Single-use barrels and corn.
Corn.
Over like 60%
of corn. Yes.
We learned that
Good
when
talk.
we had the
Greg Orth.
distillery that made the Black is Beautiful whiskey.
No, we learned
correct?
that. We learned that from
Greg Orth.
Lou
Greg
Bryson.
Orth.
Greg
no,
Orth.
not Lou Bryson. Greg Orth. Actually, I was going to say Lou Bryson, but it was Greg Orth. Because the last Valentine's episode we did whiskey and chocolate.
Oh,
we
right.
didn't do
we
beer.
did.
Anyway, for those of you continuing to fill out your bingo cards, Dan and I have cracked open Sinister Things from Shy Bear,
Oh.
which is a black goza.
So that really reminded me of something that's actually kind of topical having Todd on the show. So I'm curious if you have the same immediate reaction as I did when I drank it.
Well, I started drinking it while we were talking, so I wasn't super paying attention.
Same.
Is there another beer it reminds you of that you've had that perhaps was made by a brewery that Todd used to work
Ollie?
for?
Are you talking about Ollie?
No, it reminded me of Blood and Guts.
Oh, Blood and Guts.
Oh, I could see it. I could see it.
Yeah.
Oh, Blood and Guts.
I haven't had Blood and Guts in quite a while.
When we got Stemlered.
Yeah, when we got Stemlered. That was it. But yeah, I could see that. This is a very Free Will-esque type of beer. What I really appreciate about this one, though, so it's called Sinister Things, and the can is styled under the Stranger Things title with that red text. But parts of the label are actually upside down. So there's like text that's upside down. The Shy Bear logo is upside down. So it's cool. You know, the upside down. It's pretty cool, and it's kind of looks like movie credits on the bottom of the can there. So I just really appreciate the can art on this one. But yeah, very Free Will like beer. This one.
Immediately, as soon as I took a sip of it, that's what it
Blood
reminded
and
me
Guts.
of.
Yeah, I could see that. I thought Ollie first because it has like a little smokiness to it. I feel like.
Tiny bit, yeah. So, okay, in all of your brewing history, Todd, what is your favorite beer you have ever brewed between all of your professional gigs or even your homebrew gigs? What do we got?
My favorite beer that I have personally ever made, I have yet to make it professionally. I was going to make it at Two Rivers and then went to Free Will, but I made a key lime and pink peppercorn IPA at home.
Ooh.
And it was fantastic. I make a beer in a normal year. We go on a beach vacation every year, and I will make a batch of beer to keg and take the keg down to the beach house with us. And that was the beach house beer one year, and it was the perfect beach house beer. You have the spiciness and slight fruitiness from the pink peppercorns that matched up really well with the key lime. And I used some really nice limey and piney New Zealand hops with it. And it was just a lovely beer. And I actually fermented that with 100% Brett. So you get the really, instead of the weird farmhouse thing that you get from mixed fermentations with Brett, if you ferment with just Brett, it's very tropical fruit forward. And so it just ended up being this beautiful beer. And Josh and I at Two Rivers had been planning on making that. And then suddenly I was gone. So he never made it. And Free Will did not, they were not real keen on letting me throw Brett in one of their fermenters upstairs. So.
That stays in the basement.
Yeah, that stays in Nate's realm down in the basement.
I mean, you could
That
always
sounds lovely.
You could collab on that with Josh.
We were talking. We've had multiple conversations about collabs, and right now it's weird.
I mean,
it's tough to do.
I think it's all just wishful thinking for when we finally get out of this weird hellscape.
Yeah.
I also feel like it needs to be brewed during warmer weather.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it's ready for that beach trip.
Yeah, exactly. It will happen. It's just going to be a little while.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, Josh and I want to make that. We want to make a dry hopped saison. So we'll make it happen.
Well, I think it's safe to say that anything you or Josh brews, the three of us will consume.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Yes.
And hopefully, when we brew them, we can all actually sit down and have them together. So
that would be very nice.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be amazing.
Well,
in the meantime, if you're interested in getting beers from Brew Daddy, you can do curbside, which is super easy, and the staff is super nice, and you will laugh and giggle and smile and be entertained. Or if you're within Pennsylvania, you can have it shipped, and you can go to Brew Daddy's Brewing Company. Apparently, I've had a lot of beer. You can go to brewdaddysbrewingcompany.com, or you can look for them on social media, Brew Daddy's Brewing Co., to see all the latest releases, news, and the amazing can art, which you definitely have to check out.
Do that.
Yes, for sure.
I think Steph just strong-armed the end of the episode.
I think she did too. I mean,
I guess that's where we're at.
Yeah.
I told her to be careful of that 10%.
Well, I know that it is past Todd's bedtime, and I know that Dan has to work tomorrow, and I know how badly I have to pee, and we still have to do last call.
It's coming up on my bedtime very shortly.
Yeah.
All right. So besides, what was it? BrewDaddy'sBrewingCompany.com, right?
Oh, you said it much more elegantly than I did.
It's like I've...
It's almost like he's been trained to talk.
It's almost like I'm a broadcaster or something. Where can people find you on social medias?
At Brew Daddy's Beer Co. Brewing.
Did you say that?
She said that.
It.
Did you say that
already? Yeah, she said that
I
already.
did. You don't listen.
I'm a talker, not a listener.
So, what's the name of the brewery again?
It's Hop Doties, right?
Hop Doties.
Oh.
Well, go find the aforementioned places on the internet, or just search Brew Daddies in the Google with a U, BRU.
With a U and an umlaut.
Umlaut. Type in that umlaut.
You don't type it. No, umlaut's not. No, there's no umlaut in the URL.
Well, not in the URL.
Nobody puts umlauts.
But
in
you
the
could
URL.
you could fancy Google
they
it.
should.
Fancy Google it.
No, obviously Google's gonna find you the right thing without the umlaut, but the umlaut would just be Google would give you a fucking thumbs up if you umlauted.
Says the man wearing the Van Weezer shirt.
Fucking right. Got a problem with it?
No.
This album's delayed a fucking year at least.
You can find Beer Busters on the internet too. No umlaut.
We should put
in
an
our
umlaut
name
somewhere.
No, we shouldn't. We are
Beer
at
boosters.
We are
Beer
at
boosters.
We are at Beer Busters. At Beer Busters on Twitter and Instagram.
Beer
On
Bastards.
Facebook, we are Beer Busters Podcast. YouTube.com/Beer Busters Podcast. Patreon.com/Beer Busters. Google Beer Busters Beer Podcast. You'll find us. We've been around forever, so we're all over the internet.
It's true. We were one of the first. We're trendsetters.
One of the first.
Damn it.
Yeah, we're real influencers over here.
Yeah, something like that. And wherever you find yourself listening to this, whether it be Apple Podcast or Stitcher or Spotify or whatever, throw us a like and a rating and a review and share it with people.
Tell us what you like about the show. We'll never read it.
I don't know about that.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, we'll read it.
No, I just realized I haven't looked at our reviews in a very long time.
If you write a review,
cut that part out.
I
I was
will
just
make
being a
a
jerk.
point to read reviews on as many apps as I can, and I'll read the ones on the air that I like.
There you go. Lots of podcasts do that. We should do that. Write a review, and we'll read it.
Yeah, your review could be featured on an
Ones that
episode.
you don't like.
Yeah, right.
The ones we don't
We
like.
could, because there's probably a bunch of those.
I will tell you, if you leave us a 5-star or a 1-star review, we will read your review.
No.
One extreme of the I will
No,
happily
don't
read
leave
people.
us a 1-star review.
I will happily read about people shitting all
I will
over us.
cry.
We've been around long enough.
No, that's bad for the algorithm. Don't do that.
That's true. It is.
Unless you
It
mean
is.
it. I mean, express your opinion.
But only if you have a right opinion.
We are so bad at ending the podcast.
We really are. Todd, thank you so much, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh.
I've really enjoyed it.
Glad to hear. Thank you. I mean, anytime. And I can't wait to get out there, try the beers. Wayne's going to mule some home for me. And then when the world opens back up, we'll come out and we'll drink in person. We'll have the dessert and beer pairing.
fantastic, and maybe we can do an actual live podcast out in the beer garden or something like that.
That would be great.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yes,
that sounds awesome.
absolutely.
And I want some pizza.
Oh, fucking me too.
Oh,
Yes, I want pizza.
Telling you, the not chicken and the fake and bacon ranch pizza. Like
There you
that's
go. There you go. Unfortunately, my friends.
unfortunately that brings us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. And seriously, you need to go find Brew Daddy's beer, order it if you're in the state of Pennsylvania, or if you're close, go pick it up, and then get the food to go too. And then when everything opens back up, make sure you patronize them as much as you can. And who knows, there could be hockey events down the road, and who doesn't like hockey because they're right across from the arena? I like hockey a lot.
I like hockey.
The season starts soon, or at least the pro season. Well, my name is Dan Baker. I am joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented
Queen Baker.
Remember, no squids were harmed in the making of this episode, and you, my friend, we will see you next time.
Bye. Can you sous vide penguins?
You know, Dad used to tell me the pepperoni was penguin meat.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird.